Alright, hello you guys and welcome to a Cyber Dragon deck profile. This is the current deck that I've just recently worked up. So far, from my self-testing, it should be working fine. I haven't gotten to test it, like a locals yet or anything like that, but it's been doing pretty good on the draws. I've had to replace a couple of things, but they should have pretty much evened it out. I've looked into a bunch of the other deck profiles as of late. Hold on a second. There we go. Just keep a nice little light on there. Got a desk lamp for this. So I looked into some other Cyber Dragon deck profiles for, the current format of November. November to December now. It's December in the moment, but and most of them aren't bad, but a lot of them are focusing way too much on rank 5 plays. And Cyber Dragons are good at rank 5 plays, but that's not their main focus. So, Cyber Dragons. How do you play Cyber Dragons? Well, we'll start off with 3 Cyber Dragons. I suppose I should put this up here just to try and make sure they're the right spot. So you always should run your 3 Cyber Dragons in a Cyber Dragon deck, essentially. Very simple, they don't cost you too much. But they're the standard. They're level 5, they special summon from the hand. If you don't know what a Cyber Dragon does, that's kind of sad, honestly. They've been around for such a long time. Alright. Then you'll want to run 3 Cyber Dragon Dreys. There we go. Dre is a level alter, which allows you to get past a lot of stuff, like the fact that you can normal summon him, then turn him to a level 5 so you can use him, like you just put a level 5 on the field. So you can pretty much you can have like a level 5 monster without having to tribute, essentially, by using Dre. You can also turn every other Cyber Dragon into level 5 too, which will come in handy for some of the other ones, or if somebody decides to hit your cards and level alter them, you can just throw Dre on the field and boom, all Cyber Dragons are level 5s. But Dre also has a very handy little ability. Anytime it's removed from play, if you've got to face up Cyber Dragon monster, one of the Cyber Dragons on the field, you can select it as a target for Dre's effect, and it's protected from being destroyed by battle or card effects for the rest of the turn. Very useful way to go about it. So, good, handy little safety net. Next, you've got your Cyber Dragon Core. Core is a little guy, decent defense, but it's hard to put him into defense right off the bat, because normally you'll want to normal summon like all of these guys except for the regular Cyber Dragon. But Core, when he's normal summoned, gives you the ability to just go and search any cyber spell or trap from your deck and add it to your hand. The usual uses for this are Cyber Repair Plant, Cybernetic Network, or Cyber Network, and then Cybernetic Fusion Support, which are the 3 that I actually do run in my deck. But as well, when Core is destroyed from the field, which you can play into this one all you want to by just using him, you can grab a Cybernetic Repair Plant. Cyber Repair Plant. I'm saying the wrong names. You can grab a Cyber Repair Plant, leave him to die, essentially, so he goes to the graveyard. Then you can have fun with that, because when Core's in the graveyard, he's treated as Cyber Dragon, so you use your Cyber Repair Plant to get a search, maybe search out a Dre, add it to your hand. Then you use Core. If your opponent has a monster on their field, you can then remove Core from the grave and special out a Cyber Dragon monster, aka one of your normal Cyber Dragons. This allows you for a very quick, summoning play, so you can easily get out a Cyber Dragon for, pretty much a trade up from a dead monster. And this works very well, especially since then you can normal summon out like the Dre that you just added to your hand with the Cyber Repair Plant before you removed your Core. And then you've got yourself a rank 5 play or fusion materials, whatever you want to go with. Then onto the non-dragon cyber monsters. I've got 3 of my cyber valleys. Very happy with these guys. They're all ultra rares and all very, very useful. One of my favorite monsters to actually run in Cyber Dragon. For a long time, I actually did not understand what the hell the effect did. This was back before I really picked up the competitive side, but Valley is your ultimate little machine, and there's no reason not to run 3 Valleys in a deck, in a Cyber Dragon deck ever. You should always, always run 3 Cyber Valleys, because the effects are so just great that it's stupid not to run them. So Cyber Valley has 3 different effects. Effect 1 is if it's targeted for an attack, which means this is before the battle has even, before you even start to take battle damage, or it's upon pretty much declaration of the target. They target your monster for an attack, and they declare it. They pick the monster that they're going to attack, so they pick your Valley, and you can just remove it from play, end the battle phase, and draw a card. Beautiful effect, because so many people hate it. Then effect 2. Effect 2 is one of the more fun ones. So if you've got Cyber Valley and another monster face up on your field, you can activate effect 2, where you will remove your Cyber Valley from play with one of your other monsters essentially on your side of the field. This works very well to get off like a big play, because when you remove the 2 monsters, you get to draw 2 cards. So it's instant plus 2, for a 0 attack monster essentially. And this can be really useful if you're running like machine duplication. Effect 3 is a spell return. So say somebody has trashed out, like made you discard all of your power bonds or cyber repair plants. You can take your Cyber Valley and 1 card in your hand. You remove both of them from play to target 1 spell. Actually, I believe it's actually 1 card. Yeah, 1 card in your graveyard, and you can return it to the top of your deck. So you can instantly, go back and get exactly what you need. Plus, if you're not going to go back into your deck or anything like that, you can end your turn off with this, so that way you can, just draw it on your next draw phase. Very, very handy effects. Next up, last of the cyber monsters, Cyber Eltanin. Everybody should always run Cyber Eltanin if you're playing a cyber deck. Like, this is by far the best card you can have in a cyber deck, just because of the power it has. Once again, another one of the cards that I really didn't realize how effective it was at first. So Cyber Eltanin allows you to, as long as you can get the effect off, you special summon it from your hand by removing all of your light machine type monsters from play, from your graveyard and field. So anything that you have, so long as you've got at least 1 light machine in your grave or on your field, somewhere between those 2, you can remove it from play and it'll special summon out. I've done this before to clear out a massive board, because when Cyber Eltanin is summoned, it's pretty much just an instant field wipe. And it's the better version of it, because half of the monsters that you have to deal with anymore run off of a destroyed effect. Destroyed by battle, destroyed by card effect, and sent to graveyard. Well, Eltanin kind of breaks that one, because it doesn't destroy, it just sends them to the grave, which breaks down the effects of a lot of monsters anymore. You can get past any destruction breakers where you can't get past the destroyer. My wife likes to play Melodious, so I have to deal with her putting an Aria and Elegy lock on the field one of the most pain in the ass things you ever have to deal with, trust me. But essentially, you can't target destroyed by battle or destroyed by card effects with them. So, Eltonin is an instant wipe, and she freaking hates it so much. And I feel bad using it at some points just because it's like the only way I can win, but at the same time, it's such a dick move. But yeah, so every monster that you remove from play for his effect as well gives him 500 attack and defense. So very useful. You can, like at end game, you can pump him up and just get like a game-winning attack. And next, I'm currently playing one Swift Scarecrow. Very simple little guy, let's put him over here. Swift Scarecrow is good just because, well, I've seen people say that, you shouldn't be running like Swift Scarecrow or stuff like that in Cyber Dragon Knight. I'm like, you really should, because Cyber Dragons don't have a lot in the way of defenses. You can very easily lose your entire field in a turn, and what do you do then? You're kind of just out of luck. You've got no monsters on the field. Well, Swift Scarecrow is your little savior at that point because, boom. What's that? Your opponent wants to attack you directly because you've got no monsters left after they Mirror Forced you or Raigekki'd you. So Scarecrow. Swift Scarecrow ends the battle phase. Very quick and easy to use. Then, next card is Honest. Honestly, you should always run an Honest in a mostly light deck. Like, the majority of the cards in this deck are light types, so you definitely want to run it. Makes it for really easy to get over, like, massive attacks and stuff like that. Or just aim for, like, a, game-winning hit or something like that. Because some of the stuff you can do in this deck, can be really strong, and then that little bit extra will help. Then, just because 2 Maxis, very handy for, keeping your hand filled if your opponent likes a special summon. Not exactly the most necessary card, especially since it can get blocked out at points too. One of the worst matchups for a Cyber Dragon deck is XYZs, and they don't, special summon, so you pretty much just side out your Maxis in game 2 against the XYZ deck. Then, let's see. Onto the spells. I run 3 power bonds because you should always run 3 power bonds. And give me a second. Alright. I'm pretty sure the plane's gone. Alright, so I run 3 power bonds. Power bond is like one of the most important cards you can run in a Cyber Dragon deck. You should always run 3 in your Cyber Dragon deck just because the amount of power that this thing has for Cyber Dragons is just ridiculous. Essentially, it's a polymerization for your machines only. So, can't use it with anything that's not a machine, which blocks out pretty much, every other deck. Nobody else will run this. You could run it in Shadols for your Shekanagas, but nobody would ever try that because, they're they're too worried about, obviously, the hell are they going to do with their, I think it's 5600 attack monster then. But Power Bond will double your machine type fusion monster's attack. And this is a permanent fixture too. So when you activate Power Bond, you get a fun little effect. Your monster's original attack doubles. And this stays as long as it's on the field face up. So if it's flipped down, it breaks the effect. Kind of sucks, especially with the next part. If at the end of your turn, Power Bond deals the original attack of the monster you used, it to summon. And there's the plane again. I'm just going to wait this out. But yeah, no. Power Bond deals the original attack of the monster that you used it to summon at the end of the turn. And this is a non-negatable, effect, because there's very few ways to actually get around the burn from Power Bond. A lot of the times you're going to want to be able to finish your opponent off, or you're going to want to make sure that you can just survive the burn at the end. Because I have spent more than enough games where I have just gone and burnt myself out on like way too quickly with Power Bond. Like there's certain cards though that can actually stop the burn, but almost every single card that affects effect damage comes in and misses timing, because Power Bond's off the field. Literally the only thing that happens is it's a lingering effect. Essentially it's a timing effect that hits you at the end of the turn. So almost nothing can actually stop it except for damage nullifiers, such as broad spectrum damage nullifiers. Easiest one to use is probably Hanawata. It's a level 1 tuner, light fairy, and you're able to discard it to turn all effect damage on the field for you this turn to 0. Very handy. You can't use stuff like Damage Juggler or anything like that because it says to negate the effect. Well, the effect's already active. You can't negate it. It's going to go through. You have to nullify the damage and turn it to 0. You can't just negate the damage. Let's see. Next up, I have Limit Removal. Limit Removal is another fantastic card. This is an attack doubler. Very powerful for machines only, obviously. So you double your attack of all your face-up machine-type monsters until the end phase, then destroy them. You can easily get out of this by, fusing or overlaying the monsters that you have on your field, or if you say have a Cyber Valley on the field, you can just remove them from play. Now, it's you destroy all monsters that were affected by this effect, and let's see. Yeah, monsters with no attack, I'm pretty sure actually can't be destroyed by this. So you could actually leave your Cyber Valleys on the field during this whole period, because the effect actually says that, you destroy the monsters that were affected. So, since Cyber Valley has 0 attack, 0, times 2 is 0. So, there's no effect. Let's see. Next up, Cybernetic Fusion Support. This is an amazing card, and it took forever to actually get this. You pay half your life points, so pay. Once again, you can't just negate this with like a, like a burn stopper. You can't negate this because this is actually payment instead of infliction. Cybernetic Fusion Support is one of those that helps you essentially fuse anything. As long as it's a machine, it lets you fuse from your hand, field, or graveyard using, one of your fusion cards. So in this case, Power Bond. You can also use this with like, what's it called? Overload Fusion, which Overload uses your field and graveyard. You can activate Cybernetic Fusion Support to be able to use your hand as well in the process. Kind of a handy little thing. But with Power Bond, it gives you access to your graveyard, and the ones from the grave banish instead. Fairly simple. Let's see. Next up is 2 Fusion Conscriptions, because I don't run Polymerization. I won't run Fusion Reserve. But, oh man, my throat is drying out. Fusion Conscription allows you to pretty much just select one of your, fusion monsters from your extra deck, say my Cyber End here, and as long as it's got a listed name, an actual listed name, you can go ahead and you can take one of those out of your deck or graveyard and add to your hand. Which is why this one is more useful than Fusion Conscription or Fusion Reserve. Fusion Conscription allows you to grab, your Cyber Dragons from your graveyard, or grab your Core or Dre from your graveyard as well, because they're treated as Cyber Dragon in the grave. Unfortunately, you can't special summon them after you activate this effect, so plan it out for the end of the turn, essentially. Easiest way to go about it. Then let's see. Next, one Raigeki, just because Raigeki's relatively useful. With Cyber Dragons, a lot of times you want to make sure your opponent has a monster on the field, so you can't use like a Dark Hole or something, because you want your opponent to have a monster so you can special your Cyber Dragon from your hand. So, easiest thing to do, let your opponent have a monster, special your Cyber Dragon, then Raigeki them to knock out their monster. Very simple, quick way to knock them down. Next up is 2 machine duplications. I think 2 is the best way to run for this because it gives you plenty of options on it. And, you've got the cores and the values to use it on. You have a good chance of drawing it with the 2, much better than one of them. And you've got 2 different options to play it out. Then let's see, 2 Cyber Repair Plants. Cyber Repair Plant, if you've got a Cyber Dragon in your graveyard, you can activate one effect. If you've got 3 or more, you can activate both effects. First effect allows you to search a light machine from your deck and add it to your hand. And the second one allows you to search one of your light machines from your graveyard and add it back to your deck. If you activate both, you have to activate them in sequence, so you can't select one of your monsters from your graveyard and add it straight back to your hand, unfortunately. I wish you could. That'd be awesome, because the screwing with my opponent would be hilarious then. Next up, 2 MSTs. It's a standard. It's very useful for a lot of things, especially in a deck like this. You want to be able to knock out your opponent's stuff. If you're against anything that's running like lose 1 turn or vanities or skill drain, yeah, you're going to want MSTs. As well, you can knock out one of your own cards with it later, which I will show you. And second to last set of cards for the spells is Chicken Game. This is probably one of the newest additions to the deck. It's I did not want to play it until I realized what I could do with it. So essentially, Chicken Game is this card that you pay 1,000 life points to activate one of the effects. So you can 1, draw 1 card, 2, destroy this card, and 3, your opponent gains 1,000 life points. Now, why would you want to take 1,000 and give your opponent 1,000? Well, if you don't know what Chicken Game is, obviously this is the reason. The player with the lower life points takes no damage from anything while Chicken Game's on the field. So, easiest thing to do, put Chicken Game on the field, draw a card, make sure you're 1,000 lower than your opponent. Power Bond. Power Bond, its burn will then be negated for the turn. So you take no damage from that. It's a great little effect, very handy, easy to use. The last spell is Instant Fusion. You, is it pay 1,000? Yeah, pay 1,000. Special summon a level 5 or lower fusion monster from your extra deck. Can't attack, it's destroyed at the end of the turn, not a really big deal. Very quick and easy card to use in the deck, lets you just get your stuff out quickly. You can go into like a good rank 5 play or something like that. And I'll explain that later when we go over the extra deck. So, onto the traps. First 2 are Cyber Network. So, Cyber Network, if you've got a Cyber Dragon face up on your field, you can activate it. Allows you to banish a light machine from your deck. And what that does for you is it lets you banish your Dre essentially to protect your monster. Very good card, to have at your disposal. So you can block out your opponent's battle, playing again. Oh god, this is just annoying. But yes, then Cyber Network also has another effect that happens. When it's destroyed, which it destroys itself on your third standby phase after activation. But when it's destroyed, hence with your own MST on your opponent's turn or something like that, you can... Well, you have to destroy all your spells and traps on the field when it happens, which kind of sucks. But then you're able to special summon all of your, as many as you can, essentially, of your light machine type monsters that were removed from play. So you can instantly reload your field, but all their effects are negated, unfortunately. But not really the biggest deal if you, say, have a Cyber Dragon on the field that you can just fuse up for a fortress. And speaking of fortress, the next card, I just recently changed this from extra deck to main deck, or not extra deck, side deck to main deck, is DNA Surgery. DNA Surgery is an amazing card for Cyber Dragons because it allows you to just change the field to whatever you want. So in other words, you can turn all monsters into machine types, and then you can fuse the field up for, Chimera Tech Fortress Dragon. Then the last two cards are a Wabaku and a Mirror Force. A good little battle, safety net. Wabaku will protect your life points for the turn. Not really the biggest deal in a lot of cases, but it can be, very helpful. It'll also save your monsters. And then Mirror Force will just, destroy your opponent's attack position monsters. So you can protect yourself up pretty decently with this. So with this is the main deck of the Cyber Dragon deck. And I will move on to the next one just as soon as I figure out how to put these guys away. Alright, so next up is the extra deck. So in my extra deck, I run 2 copies of Cyber End Dragon. I've seen people run Barbaroid, and quite frankly, I could give 2 shits about that. Yeah, it's really strong, but you only have one way into it. And that is through, Cyber Dragon Nova's effect if it's destroyed by an effect card. Which happens, but doesn't happen all that much. Whereas, you may need 2 Cyber End Dragons for, fusions. You never really know. And Cyber End is an amazing card, especially in the current format, just because of what it can do. It is a 4,000 attack piercing monster. And why piercing is so good is the current meta runs with Pepe. Pepe is the Performage, Performapal deck. And how that works is you run off a lot of monsters that have, attack and defense nullification. AKA, this is one thing I realized from my friend when I dueled him. He's running it with Gem Knight Seraphite, fusion monster that allows you to normal summon twice. Great card, very useful, except when you realize that you have to use Brilliant Fusion. And Brilliant Fusion, I believe, is what it was. But when you use it, your monster has 0 attack and defense. So you summon it in defense mode to keep it, from you taking damage. Well, you toss a spell card to increase its attack to its normal attack for the turn, on your turn only. So, Cyber End Dragon has a perfect pierce straight through, especially if you power bond him out. That's a full 8,000 he has to take. And Pepe does not really run traps to stop you from killing them. So, very quick and easy way to just break down a Pepe deck. Same thing goes for anything that is being summoned by Trick Clown. And they're already burning themselves for 1,000 too in the process, so it makes it really easy. But yeah, Trick Clown with its 0 defense when it's resummoned or anything that it summons. Yes, anything that it summons out or itself essentially will have 0 defense, and they're generally going to put it in defense mode so they're safe. Cyber End, pierce straight through, burn him for the or hit him for the 1,000 piercing, and you win. And then on to the next one, we have 3 Cyber Twin Dragons. I feel like my camera is not focusing well. Yeah. There. Alright, so 3 Cyber Twin Dragons. Cyber Twin is an amazing card, very highly useful. Definitely want to run at least 2, if not 3. Now you can change out one of them for something else. Like we're expected to get some new cards, in the next booster pack, and I can't wait for that because I'm hoping one of them is going to be in there, and I'll explain that at the end of the extra deck. But Cyber Twin gives you 2 attacks. It's 2,800 attack, for each. Unless you power bond, then it goes up to 56. 5,600 attack twice is hard to get past. So your opponent you can easily take down your opponent if they got nothing to stop the attacks. I've been honested many times though. So it does happen. But yes, very simple effect, not too bad. Next up, 2 Chimera Tech Overdragons. Very, very basic card. This one it's one that you definitely want to run at least 1 copy of. So essentially this is your saving card. Essentially, if you are at the end of the game, you say have either an Overload Fusion or your Cybernetic Fusion support and Poly or Power Bond, play them and take your entire graveyard. The reason I say entire graveyard is because he has no limit on the amount you can use, and for every one that you use, he gains 800 attack and an extra attack on a monster. Now, that might not seem too useful at points, but let's think about it this way. I run, I think about 14 machine type monsters, not including the fusions, which fusions and XYZs, I can get a couple extras in there. I think I've averaged 16 when I've gone for end of game Overdragons. So 16 times 8 is already a ridiculous amount. And just what you can do with this is just crazy. So, just to make sure I've got this, because on the fly math on a video never works. Okay, yeah. It's 128. So it'll have it'll have 12,800 attack if you do this like end of game, with 16 monsters. That's really strong for such like a quick, monster. It's really, really strong. But let's say this too. You go into your Overdragon with Power Bond. That doubles it. So you're going from 128 to 256. So 25,600 attack. And you have the ability to attack up to 16 monsters with this card. The only drawback to Overdragon is the fact that when he's summoned, he blows up your side of the field. So anything can be lost at that point. Can really suck if you've got network on the field, because you can blow it up and just you lose your battle phase for the turn. Which I don't think I mentioned earlier. Yes, network destroys your battle phase. Destroy it on your opponent's turn. It's much better. But no, Overdragon is one of those that you can just end the game so easily with, though. I've misplayed it one time and I hated it because I destroyed my friend's my friend was playing Cleaforts, and I destroyed his sacrifice with one of my cards, and then I went into Overdragon. He had one monster for me to destroy. I lost off of the burn from Power Bond. I would have won if I had left him with the sacrifice, because I could have just kept attacking and attacking. It would have just been that much better, because it wouldn't have been destroyed by battle. So, essentially, play off of your opponent's cards a lot. It's going to help out. You know, if your opponent has a non-destroyable monster in attack mode, high power attack, blow them away. It's hilarious. As well, its original attack is the attack that it gets, essentially. And it's, I believe, also the attack and defense of this card. So whatever you use is going to be both of them, and it's going to be the original. Then, you know, if you're using Power Bond, it'll double. So, very handy. Next, right now I'm playing 2 Chimeratech Fortress Dragons, to which I usually run 3, but I'm still trying to balance out a little bit of this. I just threw in the DNA Surgers into the main deck the other day, so I probably need to at least swap one of these out, or swap one of the cards out for a 3rd Fortress, so I can just take my opponent's stuff. But Fortress allows you to, as long as there's a Cyber Dragon on the field, you can fuse all machines together on both player sides of the field, which DNA Surgery allows you to change your opponent's cards to machines. So, against a Pendulum deck, no, not a Pendulum deck, because Pendulums don't go to the graveyard. You can't activate this on them. But any any non-Pendulum monster, essentially, you can turn them into machines, and you can just fuse them into this. It's great. Then, it gains 1,000 for each one, so you can build up an attack really quickly. Next up, one of the newer additions is Parapsychroid. I saw on one of the videos somebody was using this, and I looked at it and I thought, you know, that's probably not the worst idea, just because it's 1,600, it gets to attack directly, and power bonded, it gives you 3,200 attack direct. I've finished my opponent off before with it. I've also limit removaled it afterwards, so I could get 6,400 attack. My opponent was pissed, because literally I pretty much just let them take 2,000 damage and then just kill them with one shot because I'm a dick. But you can do that with Parapsychroid, very simple. Just fuse 2 of your Cyber Dragons, or even, you know, if you've got 2 of your Valleys on the field, you can do them too. Last fusion monster is Panzer Dragon. This is the target for your instant fusion, not Parapsychroid. Never Parapsychroid. Unless you absolutely need it for a rank 5 play, you should never use Parapsychroid as the one, because Panzer Dragon is way more versatile for those. Panzer Dragon, you can when it's destroyed, it allows you to target and destroy 1 card on the field, regardless of, you know, position or, you know, player side. You know, so as long as you can target it, you can destroy it. So you can end of turn destroy your cyber network if you wanted to. You could destroy your opponent's big monster, or you could just put this on the field and overlay. Which, talking about overlaying, comes to our next point. Cyber Dragon Nova, the big monster that everybody wants now because of this stuff coming out, which pisses me off. And my finger is bleeding. Weird. Alright. Not a big deal. But yeah, no. Cyber Dragon Nova is one of those that has a great amount of use. And I've already been coming up with the best ways to use him for when the newest support comes out. So, Cyber Dragon Nova, a lot of people are using just because of the newest card to come out soon, Infinity. Cyber Dragon Infinity. Because you need to, you know, overlay that onto a Cyber Dragon Nova. But Cyber Dragon Nova has a lot of versatility for a Cyber Dragon deck. Essentially, with Nova, you're able to... Hold a second. Oh, God, water. With Cyber Dragon Nova, you're able to go into massive plays. So what you can do is, once per turn, you can detach a Cyber Dragon, or one of the materials essentially, from the card, to go into your graveyard and special summon a Cyber Dragon. You have to have one at least in your graveyard to activate the effect, but once you do, you can take the card that you just detached and resummon it, if it's a Cyber Dragon. Which is very useful because you just put another 2100 attack monster on the field for free. Then, from there, you get a fun little effect. Nova has the ability to banish a Cyber Dragon monster from your hand or your side of the field during either player's turn, mind you, to add 2100 attack to Nova. So, one of the strongest plays you can do, attack with your regular Cyber Dragon to knock out like their monster on the field. Remove it from play with Nova's effect to add 2100 attack to Nova, and limit removal your Nova, so you go from 21 to 42 to 8400 attack, and your opponent may be clear at that point, so you can just direct attack straight through and win. Very strong play, essentially. You can pop this effect off on either player's turn. You can use it from your field or your hand, so you can attack with your monster and remove it, or if your opponent's going to attack your monster and possibly try to wipe you out, you can just you can remove your Cyber Dragon before he tries to destroy that first or something like that, and power up your Nova so that way he's forced to use a card effect to kill it for the turn, or he just has to sit and wait. Then the last card of the extra deck is a number 61 Volcasaurus. I didn't know the number, honestly. But one of the newer editions, I saw it in my binder. I never really registered what it did. Essentially, this thing just allows you to target one of your opponent's monsters and blow it up. And then, even better, once you blow it up, you get the ability to burn them for the damage equal to the attack. That's really good, especially if you were to be in like a mirror match, because you can just put this guy on the field, blow up their power bonded monster and burn them for that. Be hilarious. But it can't attack directly the turn that you do this, so if your opponent has another monster, use this to wipe it out. Very easy thing to do. Alright, so that's the extra deck. Very easy, not like the most expensive extra deck by any means. The Novas have gone up a little bit in price, but not a ton. Then we're on to the final part. The side deck, which everything has a reason. First up, 2 Wavering Eyes, because pendulums suck. Pretty much every deck is now running Wavering Eyes, just because either it's a Pendulum deck and it's going to want to run it because the burn and search, but non-Pendulum decks run it to knock out the Pendulums for the Pendulum deck. So you can easily just play them off as chumps. So 2 Wavering Eyes is the easiest way to go about this. Then Shared Ride, because a lot of decks go in and search and such, and add stuff back to their hands. Not too hard to play off. Just chain in that. I only have the 1 Shared Ride, so I only play 1. Not a big deal. I really don't use it too often anyway, so not really a big issue that on how that works. 1 Gravity Blaster. I used to main deck 2 of these things. I've kind of cut it down a little bit. But Gravity Blaster allows you to negate any monster effect that you battle. The only time this has ever backfired is against Cleaforts. Never negate cleave forts. But yes, this allows you to pretty much you add 400 attack to your monster every turn, and then you can any monster that your monster battles, negate its effect until the end phase or end of the battle phase, which really strong because nothing can activate. One Flying Sea at the moment. That's a newer addition just because Pepe is annoying to me. So if you need to knock out an X-Seeing pain in the ass deck, just pop that out. Let's see. Next, Horn of Heaven. Good tech card. Allows you to negate summons. You tribute off one of your monsters, so you lose one, but you can knock out like a big pain in the ass, like in Cosmos. Another thing that can knock out Cosmos, Chivalry. Any effect that activates in the battle phase, or monster effect that activates in the battle phase, you can just negate and destroy. So there goes anything that they wanted to do with their farm girl or whatever. Fairy Wind to help knock out pendulums again. You just blow them up and burn each other. Let's see. One Royal Decree. Royal Decree is fairly useful just because the all-around trap negation. Good against anything that's running. Well, like I said earlier, traps that are annoying for Cyber Dragons, like lose a turn and skill drain and all that vanities. You can just knock them out with Royal Decree. Next up, 2 trap stuns. Just because, screw the traps again. Your opponent's going to be running stuff to mess with you, so run something to mess with them back. Summon Limit, which very new addition, but the idea is essentially to knock out 2 of the most pain in the ass decks. Pepe, and what is essentially the worst matchup to have as a Cyber Dragon player, Yasenjus. Stop them from summoning. They can only summon 2 times per turn. They will probably be scampering to destroy this as quickly as possible. But yes, Summon Limit will knock them out. They can't summon any more than 2 times. Lastly is Curse Seal's Forbidden Spell. This is used to knock out anything that runs high on a certain spell card, say your opponent's playing a Pendulum deck, and they need one particular card in their Pendulum Zone. Well, if you Curse Seal it, they can't use it in their Pendulum Zone. They can normal summon it as a monster because when they summon it as a monster, it's not treated as a spell. So they can still use the cards that way. But I once did this to Cleese, and the guy was kind of ticked. I've also done this to Necros. I only run 2 of them, so I knocked out 2 of their ritual spells, and the guy was just mad at me. It's kind of funny, honestly, to do this to people. You knock out a Polymerization in like a fusion deck, or Shadol Fusion in a Shadol deck. Very easy stuff to do, just knock out the important cards. And that's it for the deck. There's a couple of extra cards that you can run in, just like here's one. Armored Cyburn is a great card, and I still try to figure out whether or not I want to actually run it. Because it's just that useful. Let's see. So yeah, Armored Cyburn allows you to equip it to a Cyber Dragon or a fusion monster that lists Cyber Dragon. And then what you do is you can subtract 1,000 of its attack, which does return if it's dequipped, because this is a Union monster. Union. But yes, this is a Union monster, and it acts as an equip card. So you equip it to Cyber Dragon or Cyber Dragon Fusion monster, and you can subtract 1,000 of its attack to target and destroy one monster on the field. Very handy little card. This is just like an extra that you can run, essentially. One that will be handy later on is Overload Fusion. It's one of those that I kind of can't figure out how many I want to run. Later on, it's going to be one of the handier cards, I think, because my deck will at least run one copy at all times. So very handy to have that, just in case you need it. Another one, Malevolent Catastrophe, also useful against like Pendulum deck or anything like that, because you can blow up all of their stuff, spells and traps, including their pendulums. But you can also knock out your Cyber Network on their turn, so that way you can get all your monsters back when you need them. Mystic Walk is a fun little addition that you can throw into your deck very easily. This one's not in the best condition. It's got like a little bend in the corner, but it's the only one I found at the moment. I'm sure I got more. But yes, Mystic Walk is a card that allows you to just tribute your monster off and gain either the attack or defense of the monster. So your opponent's trying to tribute your monster off or something. This thing's a quick play spell. You can just pop your own monster, gain the attack or defense for yourself, and then go into whatever the hell you want. You can stop a Gradle, take over from this, just attack with your monster. When they destroy, their monster's destroyed and they try to take it, just quick play this, destroy your monster before they get the chance. Let's see, what else was there? There's a bunch of stuff. Yeah. There's the other Cyber Dragon cards. There's a Zui and a Proto. Proto being the second Cyber Dragon and Zui being the third. They were your only other options essentially for such a long time that they're still very handy to have around. Let's see. You can also run cards like Megamorph in the deck to help just build up the attack very quickly, because you're going to get hurt from your power bonds. You can also throw in your Cyber Larvas, because these things will just cycle out to the graveyard very quickly on their own. Very handy card to just have in your deck ready to go, because you can pretty much just pump up a Chimera monster with these, because your opponent destroys it by battle. You don't take battle damage for the turn that it's destroyed, and then you're able to instantly cycle out another one. So your opponent can attack all three, put them in the graveyard for you, shuffle up your deck. The next turn you can just throw Cyber Dragon on the field and Overload Fusion. You've got 4 monsters right there. Another handy card is Evolution Burst. This one pretty much just lets you do whatever. It lets you pretty much just destroy whatever the hell you want in exchange for Cyber Dragon's attack. Iron Call is a fun card you can run too. That one does help a lot with some of this stuff. Essentially lets you just summon out one of your machine type monsters, level 4 or lower, if you have a machine on the field. So you can quickly build like yourself a decent field, or you can just you can send out your stuff if you wanted to as well. Using like say you summoned a Cyber Valley. Use Iron Call to bring back a monster, so you can remove them both from play for 2 cards. Just a handy little draw power. And the Man Played On is a good card to run just because of what you can do with it. It gives you the ability to, lock out same level and same rank monsters. So if your opponent's playing a high pendulum deck like Pepe and, XYZ deck, and the Man Played On will lock them out. Meanwhile, pretty much every monster you have is a different level, and you can level modulate them to the same with your Dre. Very handy that way. You can also play Speedroid Menko, another very handy hand trap. If your field's empty your opponent's going to attack you for game or something like that, just drop Manko. All their monsters switch to defense position. They can't do shit about it. You can also run Defusion just to save your monsters, and Foolish Burial is a relatively standard one. Vanity's Emptiness is only semi-useful in Cyber Dragons, because if you leave it on your field for too long, you can lock yourself out. That being said, you can also play this up with like a Cyber Dragon core and your Cyber Network to literally just keep your opponent from being able to do shit for like 3 turns. I've watched my opponent try to attack me for 3 turns straight, trying to kill a core, so they could knock out my Vanity's Emptiness, and I'm just like, nope, never happening, no. Dre's just going to protect the core. You can't do shit. Now, I'm probably going to get hate for this one, because I watched a certain Yugi tuber's video. It was Yugi No. And no offense to him, but his deck is crap in a couple of ways. If you see his deck, his Cyber Dragon deck profile that he did recently, he was running Reckless Greed. No offense to Reckless Greed, I tried it in my deck. It works. But what he said was the stupidest thing I've ever heard. If you aren't playing 3 Reckless Greeds in Cyber Dragons, you're doing it wrong. I've been playing Cyber Dragons since they came out. Never have I run Reckless Greed before he said that. I tried it. You know what it did? It stopped me from drawing for 2 turns. I got 2 cards right away, but I had to sit there with nothing to do for 2 turns. You know how much I could have used to just draw 1 card for that turn? Because, then at least I don't have to worry about what's in my hand being stale. I get a new card. I can shuffle my deck between those and get a different card too. I can also throw a new card out on the field, or on top of my deck I can use my Valley effect, which he wasn't even running 1 Valley. Said he was running 3 Reckless Greed and said that you should play 3 if you're a Cyber Dragon player. I call bullshit. Reckless Greed is decent, but you need to run Valley, not Greed. Reckless Greed is bullshit comparatively. Valley has way more usefulness, especially when I saw his deck. He had 1 official target for his machine dupes, but he ran 2 machine dupes. He had 3 cores, which is 1 target. Why the fuck wouldn't you run Valley? But yes, this is just a personal gripe on that one. You do not need Reckless Greed in a deck. You can play it if you say you need an extra filler for your deck. But you do not need to play Reckless Greed. If you're playing Reckless Greed, you probably are missing a core card. But quite frankly, I still think I need to add some of my cards back in, like Foolish Burial, because Foolish Burial is just beautiful to run. Throw a core into the graveyard, turn 1 going second, you can just pull a Cyber Dragon out of your deck immediately. You can't not enjoy that. Whereas instead, Reckless Greed is just, oh yeah, I'm going to set this, and I'll get +2, but -2 for 2 or -1 for 2 turns. Yeah, no, that's dumb. Only if you really need it should you run this. Don't play it if you don't need it. If you have all of the space filled in your deck up to 40 cards, don't bother. It's crap. So, this concludes my Cyber Dragon deck. I'm just going to go ahead and throw these guys out on the field just because Cybers. But yes, let me know what you guys think. Sorry to Yugi No for bashing on your deck at the end here, but you really don't need Reckless Greed. And just to put it this way, this is a Cyber Fusionist deck. It's got a couple rank 5s because they're handy. But this deck is focused on fusions. Cyber Dragons should be focused on fusions. Not Xing. Never Xing, honestly. But Thank you guys for watching. Have a good one. I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.